Thank you very much, Madam President. I stand in support of this measure, but I will state at the outset that it is not without some controversy in my district. Enfield and North Central Connecticut have struggled, the communities that I represent, since the onset of the Great Recession in 2008. And more recently, what we believe is a disproportionate impact on our, in particular, educational system regarding the funds that we've gotten from the state of Connecticut. Somehow this has been done through certain formulaic changes, reductions in pilot funds, and so I am hoping that things can be done in a more equitable fashion for the towns in North Central Connecticut in this legislative session. I have heard from folks in my communities both for and opposed to this bill, and those opposed are primarily concerned with the fact that they believe we're picking winners and losers. They may have been out looking for a job for several months. They are in a similar situation to the folks that we wanted to help with this bill, and that's the cause for their concern. They also don't want it to be used from some sort of a political punching bag, and they clearly believe that there's problems in Washington and that those issues should be directed towards our congressional delegation. That being said, I have an international airport in my district, very proud of Bradley International Airport, and dozens of TSA officials and folks involved in various federal law enforcement capacities throughout the 7 towns that I represent. Some of those folks may live up the road in the Commonwealth, some of them may live south of my district, but I am certainly sure that many dozens of those folks in and around the airport, which secures our safety and travel, but also protects our state as being a gateway for terrorist activities. I'm sure that many of those folks work and live in my district, The other point, and I want to underscore what Senator Austin said, is that, you know, there was a time where I was looking for a job, and if you go 2-3 months without the combined income that you had relied upon to pay your bills, you end up robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it gets very serious very quickly. We need only pick up the newspaper every couple of weeks to read that so many of our neighbors and friends and colleagues have very small amounts of lifetime savings. And there's many folks in this great rich state of Connecticut that live paycheck to paycheck. It's not an inexpensive state to live in. When you look at the wealth in Fairfield County and then average it into the other counties in the state of Connecticut, we're just not all living in great wealth, and it's a struggle. And so I feel for any individual who's compelled to go to work and doesn't get paid, or is at home not receiving a paycheck, but due to the restrictions of their employment, they can't collect unemployment, or they're not free to really go out and look for another job unless they give up a job that they may have many years of seniority in, and they enjoy doing that job and they want to get back to work. And once you go a couple cycles without a paycheck, especially if you're the primary income earner in that particular household, bad things can happen very quickly. You don't want to fall behind on a mortgage and have the foreclosure proceedings beginning. Talk about something that is incredibly stressful. But you also don't want to make choices between medication or food on the table or paying for health care bills for maybe your children or your elderly parents. So this thing can turn into a cascade very quickly. And I'm excited that the first major proposal that we have in this legislative session is a public-private partnership. To the extent we can leverage all the great corporate entities and citizens and small businesses out there in our great state, we will be able to do far more for far more people than we can just trying to do it alone as a state government. So I recognize the concerns of my constituents to the north of us. I definitely understand that we don't want to be picking winners and losers, but I recognize that this particular category of individual is in a very unique situation, sui generis, and they need this hand up. It's not a handout. It's an interest-free loan that they will be compelled to pay back, but they need it to bridge them from this position of peril into the future, where hopefully the stalemate in Washington will be resolved sooner rather than later. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator.